I'd like to welcome my panelists to this discussion. I'm going to do just a quick little thing, and then I'm going to really go through with them what's going on. One of the things that I wanted to talk about, just something to build off what Laura just said, is the idea that every time a consumer is exposed to an improved digital experience, their expectations for all experiences are reset to a new higher level. Now, I say that a lot during my speeches when I do long presentations. And let me say it again. Every time a customer is exposed to an improved digital experience, their expectations for all experiences are reset to a new higher level. Now, notice what I didn't say in there was the word competitor. I didn't say every time they have an experience with your competitor, their expectations rise. It's with everything that they do. How many of you have bought a product or service in the last year? Okay, you're all consumers, right? Okay, we have our base, right? You're all consumers. Now, as a consumer, let's say you went to your banking website and you went there and you had a problem with your account, but you could ask the virtual agent a question and they could fix your problem with your account. And because you're such a busy industry professional, you then decide you have to go to your insurance website. You go to your insurance website and there's a problem with your account. And there's a little thing that says, call us and we'll help you with your account. Are you instantly disappointed? Yes. Did you compare that insurance company to another insurance company? No. We compare them to the experiences that we have everywhere. And so, and in retail, this is a good example. Now, mind you, I'm just picking two names out of the air. Let's say you went to Macy's website and it was great. And then you went to Dick's Sporting Goods website and it was disappointing in some way, shape, or form. Consumers don't say, well, that's okay because they're in sporting goods and Macy's in another industry. They don't say that. What they say is, why isn't that like this? And they'll compare you. I don't know who's in the audience, but I will tell you, everyone is comparing you to Starbucks, Uber, Nike. I know they're in the room. I saw them walk in. A whole bunch of different companies that are out there. So as we're going through the panel today, I think it's really important to note, like some of them are going to be talking about things that you may say, well, that's not really relative to my industry. It is relevant to your industry because your customers are going to be experiencing these things. And there's going to be elements of what we talk about today that will show some of the value that companies are bringing to the market that you're going to have to consider and think about and say to yourselves, how is our industry need to respond to that kind of value that that company's bringing? So that's just a quick introduction. So let's go down the line. I'm actually gonna just go one by one here today. It just seems a little bit easier, and that way you guys can get a good sense. I did ask them to sit in the order on which they are on the slides. That way you kind of know who they are. I always love when people do that. So anyway, I'm Brendan Witcher, Vice President, Principal Analyst at Forrester Research. I'm not gonna take any time introducing that. We're a research firm, we're publicly traded. Google it. It's a really easy concept to understand. Okay, and then let's just go down and let everyone introduce themselves, and then I'll come back and start with Yongjoon here about their solution. So go right ahead.
Hello, my name is Yongjoon. I'm the CEO of Lululab. Lululab is an AI beauty tech company spun off from Samsung Electronics 3 years ago. So our signature solution is what we call Lumini, which is also known as AI skincare assistant. So our main target is B2B retailers with our AI beauty store system. So we have like a 3-step software procedure: scanning, analyzing, and recommendation. So with a device with the image sensor and the multispectral array, we scan the entire face within like 3 seconds and datafy all the skin data. And after that, we recommend the step-by-step recommendation procedure for the cosmetics. So for the end users, they can buy the products right away, or they can receive a report for the subscription services.
My name is Maeve McKenna Duska. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at USA Technologies. USA Technologies is an IoT company specific to unattended retailing. So it's a full-service platform. We do everything from enabled digital payments to consumer engagement like loyalty programs and also digital advertising, all the way through the value chain back to the software systems that actually help you manage your business. So logistics, merchandising, smart algorithms that tell you what kinds of products to put in the machines. So full service system to enable that business model.
Great. Thanks, man. Ned?
I am Ned Hill. I'm CEO of Position Imaging. My company is at its core a position tracking technology company, and what we do is create tracking technologies focused on improving various processes around logistics, moving goods from A to Z, and taking sort of the friction out of various processes so it helps everyone, including retail.
All right, thanks, Larry.
I'm Larry Schwartz. I'm CEO of Aetrex. We have 3 primary product lines. We have a footwear line. We also make orthotics, but we're primarily here because we're the world's leading supplier of foot scanning technology. So we make all different types of foot scanners, some that use sensors, computer vision, AI, mobile solutions as well, and we're in 50 countries throughout the world.
All right. So thank you, panelists, for joining us today. Yongjoon, I'm going to start with you then. Go back to you here. So as you said, you described to the audience this idea of serving customers through skincare. The idea is that, just remind the audience quickly how you do it, and then what elements are you capturing to do that?
I see. So when the consumer uses our solution, the first thing that the consumer need to do is register their personal information like geographic factors, their names, and the age and the gender. The reason why we collect it is that we need to correctly classify the information so that they can compare with the similar profile and get the more accurate data at the end. And after the personal registration, they can get an analysis of the skincare up to the 7 different features, starting from the moisture level to the wrinkles, pore, redness, melasma, acne, and the sebum. So out of those 7 categories, we can not only point out what the problem is, and we can also point out how serious it is.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, keep talking.
Yeah, thank you.
That's it? Okay, that's
yeah.
it. Sorry, I just want to move that down a
Yeah.
little bit. And so, remember earlier I said about building bridges to the ideas, right? Like you may not be in the skincare industry, but for example, right, you're collecting a lot of customer data,
Yeah.
right, today. And then I hear companies today talking about, the ones I speak with say, we're scared to try and collect data about the customer. How are you able to collect data without creeping out customers while also staying compliant with complex regulatory issues that are now arising?
Yeah, we also agree that the importance of the collecting the data, that's the reason why, even from the beginning, we follow the GDPR regulation by cooperating with the German law firm and the Korean law firms. It's really important that if the consumer don't want to store their data, we need to discard it right away after the one-time services. But if they want to do the historical analysis by comparison of the previous skin data with the current one, we just assign the different charging person at a different level. That's how we work on the processing data privacy, and we also do the make data to be anonymous so that the consumer can only provide the data to those who they agree with. The lesson we learned actually from here is that data is not owned by the retailers, not by the companies. It's solely owned by the consumers. So for the companies, they need to give them a benefit if they want to utilize the data.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I find all the time with organizations, what they forget is that consumers are willing to share data, but they have to have value in exchange for that. How many of you have heard of Stitch Fix? Heard of Stitch Fix? How many of you signed up for Stitch Fix? Raise your hand high. You have? Okay, you have, right? That's like a half hour of your life you're never getting back, right? Like, bring a sandwich to that sign-up process. 80% of people finish that process. 80%. And they do it because they know there's value at the end of it. Don't be fooled. We love talking about ourselves. We do. But we need to know at the end of it, there's going to be value for us. And so you do a very good job with your solution of communicating the value so people know going into it, oh, I get what's going to happen, so now I'm okay with data. Too many companies say, let's just ask them questions, and you don't communicate to the consumer what the data is. Or what the value is to them, right? Mm-hmm. So you told me on an earlier call, everyone thinks this is all ad hoc, this is all very scripted. You told me on an earlier call, though, that one of the things with compliance is that you need to think, particularly in the mobile space, because you guys offer your solution on mobile, right? Yeah?
Actually, we provide it on the tablet space.
On the tablet space, sorry. I meant tablet, tablet's mobile.
Yeah.
There's a smaller screen there. How do you communicate those legal requirements that you need without ruining the customer experience?
I see. That's very hard questions. So when we actually what we are doing is providing a solution to B2B partners, and our device is only compatible with the 10-inch tablet. In that sense, we can not only show every articles of the GDPR regulation to the consumer at one look, But in the mobile experiences, if we move further, like a few months later, if we move up to the mobile application, it's really hard to communicate all the aspects of the GDPR regulation. So in that sense, I think we need to focus more on the core value of the data privacy, such as the storage of the time for the customer information and the third-party agreement and how to utilize it after the agreement. So that's the thing that we'll work on in the future.
Yeah. One of the questions I'll ask all the panelists is, how are companies measuring success? We were having a conversation earlier about all these startups and things. I mean, this conference has a lot of them. I don't really look at startups too often because I need to have a business case, right? So one thing I'll ask all the panelists is, how are your clients measuring success? What are they doing to measure? Because most of you are related to some sort of experiences, right? And experiences are always hard to measure because they don't necessarily always tie directly to conversion. How are companies today using your tool? How are they measuring what does success look like?
Especially with our solution, when we work with the retail partners, we are working on the two main KPIs. The first one is the footfall, and the second one is the buying conversion ratio. So in terms of the footfall, everyone here knows that the online sales already exceeded the sales from the offline spaces. But only the offline spaces can offer the distinctive characteristics, like a real experience of the product. So with that in our mind, we open up an AI beauty store in a department store in Korea and Dubai. The number of people visited there is respectively 4,000 per month and 2,000 per month. And out of those numbers, over 50% of the consumers actually visited the nearby cosmetic stores and get a consultation. And the second stuff is on average, 60% of consumers converting to the buying the cosmetic products. So the reason why we got such number is that consumers said the results are more reliable in the sense that our analyzed data is more qualitative with the back data of the systematic system.
Yeah, thank you, Yongjoon. So maybe I'm going to move on to you now. Just if you could remind the audience of what it is that you do, and I would like to know, what are the new paradigms of retail that you're bringing to market? In other words, the new value that you're bringing.
Sure, yeah. So I mentioned earlier that USA Technologies is really an enablement platform for unattended retail. What that means is both historical businesses like vending, kiosks, parking, for instance, places where you would put in money, there would not be an attendant, you would buy a good or service yourself and move on, right? So digital payments was a huge enabler for that. But the new paradigm is really these businesses, retailers who are looking to leverage that business model that exists today, along with the new technology that's available to them, to bring their goods and services to where people are. So, of course, retailers, by and large, are competing with large companies like Amazon. For the most part today, you can even consider an Amazon delivery an impulse purchase because in some cases you can get it same day. So the best way to compete with that as a retailer is to capitalize on providing convenience services, goods and services where people are when they want it, right? So it becomes that impulse purchase. And retailers aren't thinking about this by and large.
Yeah, I think retailers sometimes, and brands too, have this legacy way of thinking about this high quality touch point. There are many products where if I could just go and it's in my house, that's how I want to buy that product, right? Like dog food, bananas, diapers, all sorts of things, right? I don't really care to have an interaction, right? I don't really care to have that sort of relationship. I just want you to create convenience and ease for me. And with these digitally savvy consumers today, they're fine with this kind of stuff, right? So what I was wondering next is the idea that how do you justify this? I mean, what data do you have that proves that this is of value? Because I'm an analyst, I got lots of data, but I'm sure that you have data too that shows this is what consumers are looking for.
Yeah, so on its most basic level, two things, right? When you add payments to an unattended retail experience, you increase your sales by 30% at a minimum. So that one's easy, right? So increase in revenue. People are buying more, they're buying more often, they're returning to the machine more. And then from an operational perspective, because we also do have that operational software, and that's a big barrier for retailers who are looking to get into the unattended space. Like, that's great. I believe in the business model. I want people to be able to buy my goods and services when they're walking through the airport, on college campuses, wherever they are. But how do I scale that? And so our software allows for that scale. And so you get that boost of about 30% in business efficiency. So those are the two easy ones, no brainer. 30% increase in revenue, 30% increase in margin on the bottom end. But then there's also a lot of really interesting soft benefits. So there's just the advertising in general, right? So now your brand is out there. It is a bit of a billboard when you have an unattended retail kiosk out in where people are. So you get some advertising benefit from that. You leverage brand loyalty. So if a brand, consumer has a specific brand affinity, they're going to seek your brand out. If you make it easy for them to do that, they're going to purchase from you. And then there's other things like people looking for those unattended experiences. You mentioned Starbucks. It's a perfect example. Yeah, some people really want to chit-chat with the barista and talk about the weather and get their coffee and have the little heart drawn on top of their latte. But lots of folks now are just going into their mobile app, pre-ordering, grabbing at the counter, and going. And so that's the direction that we're moving in.
Yeah, just give me my pumpkin spice latte.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I want.
I gotta go.
Okay, so what are the objections, though? I mean, and by the way, I love what you said about it's almost like a billboard for your brand. Any of you out there that have physical locations, if you're like the average, it means that people in your area where you have a physical store, e-commerce is about 30% higher in those areas than where you don't have a physical store. Think about that. That's what we're talking about here, is your brand name is now in front of people, right? And so think of that. Think of what banks did. Banks just started opening ATMs. They weren't located at the bank anymore. They're just in little boxes now, right? Like everywhere. That's the same idea, is our brand name is everywhere. It also gets store location things on your phone to be that way too. I know a lot of companies are using it that way. So what are the objections? We're talking about, let me use a crass term, which is vending machines, right? We're talking about kind of making the experience very unpersonalized. What are your objections? What are the objections you hear retailers saying about using that kind of a solution?
Yeah, so I think it's twofold. I mean, I think one, you kind of hit on. How do we create an amazing user experience, an amazing consumer experience where there's some personalization attached to it, where I feel good about the purchase, I feel good about the brand, you're not eroding that brand value, right? So how do I do that in an unattended way? And then the other piece is, again, how do I scale that? So I'm interested in moving into an unattended retail environment. I want to put my products out there, but I have no idea how to manage inventory for that. How do I manage machine repairs? So those are the two things I think are the biggest barriers. The first is really just a mindset, right? So retailers really have to kind of get over themselves. Consumers don't care. We just did a study with payments.com, and we'll be putting it out next month. And we did a study of over 6,000 consumers, and of the consumers we surveyed, over 20% of people who aren't using unattended retail today would like to, and they would like to do that for multiple different reasons. One is speed and convenience, so that's kind of a no-brainer. I want my pumpkin spice latte, and I want to go. And the other is people are really interested in using new technology. They like it. They want to engage with technology rather than humans. Yeah. So people are looking for ways to do that. And I think brands who are going to thrive are going to be the ones who say, I'm not waiting for people to come to my store. I'm not hoping that people come to my website. I'm going to explore this unattended retail model, put my goods and services where the people are, and know that a majority of people are going to want to make a purchase in that way.
Yeah. What are the mental steps and vision retailers and brands should adopt to recognize the possible applications of value for self-service?
Yeah, so I think we really need to think outside the box. So we have a lot of legacy businesses out there today that are doing unattended retail, and then there's loads of applications that we haven't explored that we should. So that same survey that we did showed that 86%, which is a ridiculously high number and was a surprise to me, 86% of the consumers that were surveyed who are interested in purchasing something from something like a kiosk or vending machine in an unattended way, we're looking to purchase health and beauty items. That was like kind of a weird thing for me to think about, right? But if for those of you who live particularly in metropolitan areas, if you go into a drugstore and you try to buy shampoo or razors, forget it, right? Like you have to actually call an attendant, they have to unlock the thing because those are the items that are most frequently stolen. It's a very poor customer experience. And so if retailers start thinking about those applications and what the consumer needs are, I think that they'll find that there's a lot of applications out there that they can leverage that improves the consumer experience, increases their sales, and creates a really good buying experience for the customer.
Okay, I don't do this often, but I'm going to tell you, you have to answer it quickly because
Okay.
we have to move on.
Oh, yeah.
How are people measuring success with your solution?
Yeah, so I touched on it before. It's mostly top line, 30% increase in revenue, bottom line, 30% increase in margins from business efficiencies, and then new growth. So they're going into new verticals, new markets, new venues where they weren't before. So brand new sales.
So what you're saying about bottom line efficiencies is selling that, let's say that Nike, again, I just called them out because I saw they walked in the room with an entire posse of people. Good for you guys, all showing up. If you sold that through the machine, there's so much overhead that doesn't exist for that, right?
Correct.
So that's where that bottom line for every sale of those shoes would be much, much higher because of the nature of how you're
You don't have labor, you don't
Yeah.
have real estate, correct.
Yeah. Okay, Ned, just real quick on your side from you. Again, remind us what you do, all right, as an organization, and then I want to talk a little bit about because your solution, interestingly enough, and I want to give you a little plug for NRF2 because I know you're going to be there in the Innovation Lab. So if people want to see your solution, they can go there. I didn't allow anybody to have slides, so if you want to see that, I think is. And are you going to be in NRF presenting your solutions as well? Yeah,
We will.
Yeah, you will. Yes. Okay. So go see them in NRF. The solution you have, tell me a little bit about it again, or the audience again. And one thing I want to connect to this as a very first question for you is, Laura mentioned like 93,000 stores closing this year, right? So that's not terribly important because we opened a lot of stores as well, and we do every year. Your solution is specifically for the store. Are you seeing more people remind us what you do, and then are you seeing more people finally moving into making investments in store?
Sure. So our product, our retail product is called iPickup, and essentially what it is an AI-based computer vision platform that will allow retailers to have a complete e-commerce fulfillment solution without having the conveyor belts, the lockers, the pack towers, and everything else. So what we do is, as an order comes in, it's ordered online. Your staff, instead of having to stage it and do a whole process, they can simply put it on a shelf and our system will watch where that product is, wherever it goes, and then when a customer comes in to pick it up after they've gotten a notification, they either have a QR code or whatever. At a kiosk, we have staff-assisted solutions as well, but our system will verify where that product is on the shelf, literally point to them with a laser, walk them through with an audio. So it takes out all the friction of the BOPUS process for customers, and it enables a pleasant experience coming into the store, which is key. And BOPUS is a huge opportunity right now for retailers. I think it's sort of the chasm that a lot of you talk about the stores closing. If you're not addressing BOPUS, it's sort of like the old Shawshank thing, right? Get busy living or get busy dying. Mm-hmm. You've got to get on BOPUS. And right now, the fulfillment process, I can't resist, is the Achilles heel of that process. And what we do is we just take all the friction out of it. Just let the computers do it, let them watch it, let us guide the customers to the package, and just improve the whole process and get them back into the stores.
So can you give us an example of somebody using this solution today?
Sure. We just launched our self-service iPickup with Tractor Supply this past quarter. It's been a huge. Tractor's been an amazing partner, by the way, to work with. Just very forward-looking, and it's been a big success. We've had, Rakuten did a study that if on the BOPUS initiative, if you waiting 10 minutes or more, customer, 16% people will be likely to come back to the store to do that again. 5 minutes, it's like 36. Let me see if I can remember this. 2 minutes, it is, I think, 68. So our scores at Tractor Supply, 15 seconds. You go into the store, you put it in, you're done, 15 seconds. And part of that is actually how Tractor sort of pushed us to do the system right in the at the front of the store, easy breezy for the customers, and it's been a huge success. 95% customer approval rating too, which was a surprise.
So one of the things that I hear about a lot, still in retail, age-old problem, security, theft,
Yep.
shrinkage. How does your solution prevent that?
Yeah, so people always say, well, it's not in lockers, it's not behind a closed door, it's scary. So we also launched in the residential community for multi-unit buildings, and in over 700,000 transactions, we've had 0 packages stolen. And so why? Is because our computer system knows who is in that area, and they will literally alarm if you've taken the wrong package. In fact, if our system in the iPickup solution at retail, if you even enter the area and you're not supposed to and you're not signed in, we'll alarm right away. So we know who's there, we know what you've taken, and we'll know if you've taken the wrong package. So we actually prevent shrinkage better than what they do today. If you have an RFID on the product and you leave the store, you're at the door when you're out. We'll tell you before you even get to the thing.
So for companies that are in the audience today that are not Tractor, right? Where do you see the future of this going? What is the application of this for all other kinds of industries?
So for big box retailers, we're going to launch with a very big retailer this quarter with a staff-assisted version where it's behind the door and we're helping the staff find their packages. But this can expand into inventory management. There's a lot of work on Amazon Go. There's a lot of talk about Amazon Go, these cashierless applications. We are a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of an Amazon Go, just by the way. So computer vision and AI is a huge initiative right now with retail, and I think it's one of those ways that we're going to help retailers repurpose their stores to make them more efficient.
And again, quick answer, please. The measuring success. How are people measuring success?
It's pretty straightforward. We've got a monthly fee that we charge people because we're hosting it, and then you just compare it to what are you doing? You're saving your employees time to do something else, and so that time is it's really not even a question of more the payback.
Great, thank you, Ned.
Sure.
So, Larry, we're going to go to you on Aetrex. I'm saying that right? Mm-hmm. Aetrex? Aetrex Worldwide. We talked earlier about your solution. I thought it was really kind of slick, especially I have flat feet, so I was like, yeah, I love what you're doing. Remind the audience what you're doing, and then what is it that you're thinking about right now for your solution? Where might we find this solution today, and where do you think the application is going to go in the future?
Yeah, I mean, we do footwear orthotics, and then we develop our own foot scanning technology. So we have thousands throughout the world. In the U.S., we're in most service-oriented shoe stores and also running stores. We're also in a lot of large chains like Trade Home and Red Wing and Shields and many others. And then we have a pretty strong presence in Asia and Europe as well.
Okay. And so we've been buying shoes for about 200 years, right? This is nothing new from the old cobblers. Why is a solution like this important in the year 2020, both for retailers and for consumers?
Yeah, I mean, we're always amazed at how many retailers are actually fitting shoes the same way they did in the 1940s and 1950s. That's starting to change, luckily. But on the benefit side for retailers, we're really looking to accomplish three things. One is we want to improve the retail experience for the consumer. We want to capture a lot of data, and then the add-on sales aspect. Our technology is integrated with an orthotic program, so a lot of times a retailer will join us for the data capture and the retail experience, but we end up being one of the more profitable pieces of their store per square foot. So we want to do all three: experience, data, and add-on sales. For the consumer, we want to have authentic benefits. We want to get them in the right shoe the first time. We want to have them comfortable. So on the insole and orthotic side, we're looking at reducing and preventing injuries, and we want to also, on footwear, we want to be able to get you in the right size and the right shoe the first time, reduce returns online if the retailer has an e-commerce component as well.
So you've answered one of the questions I was about to ask, which was, how can you help retailers collect specific data? I'm gonna go to the next level of question with that, which is, hi Laura. Okay. What are retailers ready to use data in their business today to create a competitive advantage?
They are. I mean, especially larger retailers. So with our scanning technology, we capture an unbelievable amount of data underfoot, and we can measure any part of the foot. So it gets integrated with the digital marketing and e-commerce program so that the retailer can send emails out to the specific consumer based on their needs, based on their size, their foot type. So instead of just getting the same email, we work that you're just sending to everybody. We work with retailers to have customized email programs, and then we provide a dashboard and control panel for them to be able to manage the data in all different ways and export it and integrate it into their digital marketing programs.
So you're a component of what Robin recently wrote about in the CS, which is experiential retail, right? You do 3D printing even, where people can customize it. Do you see this as the future of retail, is experiential?
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure. I mean, retail has to become more experiential. I think we're seeing that already. The 3D printing component is something we introduced last year at CES, and it's going really well. In a lot of ways, that's the future of retail too, because we're providing a product that the store doesn't have to stock, and it's customized and made exactly for that particular consumer. So high margins, no inventory. So yeah, we see retail evolving. I think there'll always be a place for discount retailers as well, but for retail to survive going forward, they have to have it more experiential for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Last question: how are people measuring success of your solution when they use it?
It's always tougher to measure the retail experience part, but for us, it's the add-on sales. So they can measure the amount of additional revenue we've generated for installs. Sometimes the retailer doesn't expect it to be millions of dollars in sales, and it becomes a big piece of their business. We can also measure it by reducing returns on their e-commerce platform. So when a retailer works with something we have called FitHQ, and they actually have it integrated into e-commerce, we can reduce the amount of returns online, and that's another easy way to measure success. And for a lot of our customers, if we can get their returns down 5-6%, it represents a big savings.
Yeah, who'd like to reduce returns, right? Everybody, right? Thank you guys, for letting me go 2 minutes over. You're awesome. And thank you all for attending. We'll see you soon.